Welcome everybody, this is Jason and the name of this week's workshop is Subset Boulevard. This is a workshop about adding subsets to objects and making them recolorable. So let's have a look. What are subsets? Well, imagine, for example, a vase. That vase has a glass body and it has little opaque flowers in the top of it. The vase, the crystal part, is one subset and the flowers are another one. What resources need to be added and modified in order to enable a subset? So to get a basic subset working, you would first need to add the mesh group in the GMDC, then add a TXTR and a TXMT to enable the material, and then edit the shape to recognize the new subset. If you want to make it recolorable, you would also need to add an MMAT and make an edit in the GMND. This is an example of what an object looks like with recolorable and non-recolorable subsets. So you can see that the recolorable subsets have an MMAT, and that is linked to the TXMT and TXTR. And then the non-recolorable subset is just a TXMT that's connected to the SHPE. And then this one here, this window glass, the one on the lower left, it's connected to a black TXTR. That means that it's pulling up a Maxis resource. So how do we add subsets? To begin, we start with the GMDC, select the GMDC in the resource tree, then once again in the resource list. In the plugin, we click on the import button. We import our subset. We can click add, or we can rename, or we can replace, whichever option is best, and then we click OK. We go to the groups tab of the plugin. That new item that we just added, we need to select it, and then we need to change the name of that group. From there, we just commit and save, and we're done with the GMDC. Then the SHPE. We select the SHPE in the resource tree, once again in the resource list. We select that one line that's in the plugin. We click add to add a new line. We rename the subset in the subset name, and in the material name, we need to come up with a new name for that material. So in this case, I just added wings. You can just whatever terms you want. It just has to be after the underscore. Then we select the TXTR in the resource tree, once again in the resource list. We right click one of the TXTR and we select clone in the dropdown. Then we rename the file name to whatever the name of the texture should be. We edit everything after that dash, that last dash. We right click on the image. Then we select build DXT in the dropdown. Then we open the image. We build the DXT just as we would with basically anything else, whether you're recoloring, adding new textures, it's the same procedure. That once we've done that, we commit and we save. We're done with the TXTR. We go to the TXMT. We select the TXMT in the resource tree, once again in the resource list. We select one of the TXMT in the resource list. In this one, I'm selecting the base because there's also a LOD 90 and we don't really use that. So we select the base. We right click once again. We select clone in the dropdown. We change the file name to correspond to whatever we put in the SHPE. Then we go down until we find standard material base texture name. We select that and we change that to correspond to whatever we did in the TXTR. Then we go to the file list tab of the TXMT plugin. We change everything after the dash, just as we did before, to correspond to the TXTR. We commit and we save. We need to do our first fix integrity operation. So we go to Tools, Object Tools, Fix Integrity. We don't need to mess with renaming it. We don't need to click Update. We just click OK. And it's going to stitch all of those resources that we just added together. Then we can take a look in the GMDC preview and see if it appears correct. If it does, then we're all good. If it doesn't, then we need to go back and check our work. If you don't need to make the resource or the subset recolorable, we're all done. But if you need to make it recolorable, there are a couple of extra steps. So we select the GMND in the resource tree, then once again in the resource list. And the file in the block list dropdown, we find TS design mode enabled. And as you can see here, the only named subset is the base. So we select that item, we select base, we make sure that the lower right dropdown is set to array, and we click on add. Then in that text box over on the upper right, we enter the name of the new subset that we want to make recolorable. So in this case, wings. Then we just commit and we save. Finally, we go to the MMAT in the resource tree, once again in the resource list. We right click on that MMAT and we click we click clone in the dropdown. We select tools, object tools, hash generator. We go to the GID radio dial. Then we generate a new GID, we copy that. We paste that GID over the family property, just as I am showing here. Then we select name. This is what corresponds to your TXMT. So we need to change the name of the material to correspond to the new material that we added. Then we go to the subset name property. We change that to correspond to the new subset, the new group in the GMDC that we added. Once we've done that, we commit and save the MMAT. Then second fixed integrity operation. So we go tools, object tools, fixed integrity, just as we did before. We don't mess with anything. We just click on OK. And once again, it's going to stitch that new MMAT back to the rest of the object. Once you've done all that, pop open Scenegrapher and just make sure that it's stitched together correctly. It should look something like this. You can see that the MMAT is linked. The new MMAT that we added is correctly linked to the CRES. It is also linked to the new TXMT, and the TXMT is correctly linked to the shape and the TXTR. And if you've done all that correctly, once you open it in game, it's going to look something like this. And an alternative to looking at it in SHPE's Scenegraph, where you can pop it open in Scenegraph Plus, and that gives you a better picture. It can't add subsets, at least not yet, but it can, if you're adding a material, for example, if you wanted to add another recolor of the wings, you can do that in Scenegraph Plus. Great tool, highly recommended. So I have shared an object called subset tutorial. Hold up. It's called subset tutorial sculpture. So we just pop that open in SHPE. And let's give that a quick preview so that we can see what we're dealing with. So we've got our friend George here. You can see the object already has one recolorable subset, and it has one non-recolorable subset, which are the eyes. So what we want to do is add some wings to him. We go import. We click on the import button in the plugin. We grab George base, and in this case, we don't need this sculpture Big Apple Chrome, so I'm going to select nothing in the dropdown. We don't need eyes. He's already got eyes, so I'm going to go nothing. What we're adding are the wings. So I just go OK, and it's going to add a subset called wings. Let's give that a quick preview. Okay, now George has wings. We commit. Give that a quick save. Then from here, I normally go to the shape, the SHPE. So we select that in the resource tree. Once again, in the resource list. And let's select the last line here, eyes. We click add. Here I'm going to call the subset name wings because that corresponds to what's in the GMDC. Then we rename this wings. We're done with the SHPE, so we can give that a commit. Now we need to add a TXTR. So we select the TXTR in the resource tree. Once again, in the resource list, we right click, we clone. We rename wings. We rename that texture as wings. Then make sure that that's a DXT3 because this is an alpha editable texture. So we go build DXT, we open, and let's select the wings red texture. We don't need to do anything else with the filter as long as it's DXT3. We build, we commit, and we can save now. Now we go to the TXMT. We select one of these materials. I believe they're pretty much the same. They're not really shiny. We don't need to make this shiny. So we select one of these. We right click, we select clone. So everything between the first and second underscores here, we need to change. So we need to add this material that we added in the shape so that the SHPE recognizes it. Wings. Then we go to standard material base texture name. And you can see after the dash is eyes, but in the TXTR, we made the name of that texture wings. So we need to make it the same here. So we change that to wings. Then we go to the file list tab. We do the same thing. We just change that last bit after the dash to wings. Then we commit. We can give that a save now. Now, what we need to do is stitch those resources that we added back to the object. So we go tools, tools, object tools, fix integrity. Give it a quick preview. There it is. So wings are looking correct. Not an issue. It just ran out of cache or something and it couldn't render the object. Let's do tools, object tools, Scenegrapher, so we can see what's going on here. So we go down here and we've got this wings subset. But it's not connected to an MMAT. It's not recolorable at this point. So what we need to do is make it recolorable. Now we go. To do that, we need to go to the GMND first. So we select the GMND here, once again in the resource list, and in this block dropdown, in the GMND's plugin, we're looking for TS design mode enabled. So we can see that this subset is named, but we don't have wings. So we select this subset in the text box here. We add. We make sure that dropdown is set to array. So we add another array, and then we name this one wings. Give that a quick commit. And we can save. Then we go to the MMAT. So a material override, it says, hey, this material can be swapped out with other materials using the design tool. So from there, we go clone. We select the new material that we cloned. And the first thing that we do is tools. Object tools, hash generator. We select the GID radio dial. We copy all of that text that it generated. Then we go to the family property. We paste that right over family. Then we go to model name. I'm sorry. To name. This is the actual material. Name is your material. So after the underscore where it says chrome, let's just change that to wings. And then subset name. This is the name of the subset in GMDC. So here, all we're going to do is overwrite that with wings. We commit. We save. And then I'm going to go tools, object tools, fix integrity. We don't mess with anything here. We just click OK. Give that a quick save. Okay, so we've saved that. We give that a preview. And looks pretty good. Then we go to the MMAT. We select on wings. And we click on this preview button. And yep, that should be recolorable. Now, one other step we can go to tools, object tools, Scenegrapher. And this is the new MMAT that we added. We can see that that's stitched correctly to wings. So should be ready to go. We can close that. And before we launch that in game, I'm just going to pop open Scenegraph Plus right quick. And we select packages. And we go to subset Boulevard. And so now we have an even better representation of the scene graph. So we can see these two MMATs up top. This is the top tier resource. This is linked to the TXM or the TXMT and to the crest. So those are hooked up correctly. We're ready to test. So we found our test object in our catalog. And now the bounding box is messed up. But okay, so if you hover over the wings subset, you can see here, okay, it is both subsets are recolorable. But currently, as there's only one recolor for each, it can only pull one. So that's it. It was just a gorilla and we added wings to it. And that's how you would add a subset. Now, if you wanted to add recolors within the object, you could follow my other workshop. It's called the Color Out of Space Part 1. And that has pretty clear instructions on it. But for now, mission accomplished.